Honorable members, let's pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor and blessings as your servants whom you have been pleased to call to your leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our church. Amen. Honorable members, welcome to today's session. Order, clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, we have received communication for the approval of Participatory County Climate Risk Assessment, PCRA, and the County Climate Change Action Plan, CCAP. The above subject matters refers Kericho County, in collaboration with the National Treasury, is implementing a World Bank funded project financing locally led climate action, FLOCA, intended to build community resilience against climate risks and hazards. One of the minimum access conditions to secure funding from the program is the development of County Participatory Climate Change Risk Assessment, PCRA, report, and the County Climate Change Action Plan, CCAP, by the County Assembly for submission latest by 31st May 2023. Forwarded herein are copies of the two documents for deliberation and approval by the County Assembly, and the same is committed to the Committee on Environment, Energy, and Natural Resources. We have also received communication from the Office of the Auditor General, report of the Auditor General on Kericho County Assembly members' car and mortgage scheme fund for the year ended 30th June 2022. I transmit the report of the Auditor General on the examination of the financial management of Kericho County Assembly car and mortgage scheme fund for the year ended 30th June 2022. The report is submitted in accordance with the provisions of Article 2297 of the Constitution for the necessary action as required by Article 2298 of the Constitution of Kenya. The same is committed to the Public Accounts and Investment Committee. Next, order, clerk.
Order number 3, messages.
Honorable members, we have received communication that immediately after the morning session, the County Assembly of Kericho will have a Kamukunji immediately after this session. So members are requested to stay behind immediately after this morning session. Next, order, clerk.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next, order.
Order number 5, papers.
The Honorable Chair, Governance, Labor, and Social Services, please lay your papers. Please lay your papers. Thank you. Next, order clerk.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Notices of motion by Chairman, Governance, Labor, and Social Welfare Committee. Give your notice of motion.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me this opportunity to give the notice of motion that this House adopts the report of Governance, Labor, and Social Welfare Committee on the inquiry regarding the alleged harassment of female workers in Finlay's and Ekaterra Tea Estate. Thank you so much.
Next, order clerk.
Order number 7, statements.
Next, order clerk.
Order number 8, motion by Chairman of the Governance, Labor, and Social Welfare Committee.
Welcome, Chairman, Governance, Labor, and Social Welfare Committee. The motion.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, for another opportunity to move the following motion, that this House adopts the report of Governance, Labor, and Social Welfare Committee on the inquiry regarding the alleged harassment of female workers in Finlay's and Ekaterra Estate. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me, Mr. Speaker, sir, with your guidance, to start on page 5. Page 5, Mr. Speaker, 3.0.
Yes.
With your guidance, Mr. Speaker, so I want to start on page 5, and the item 3.0, an exposed documentary by the British.
I think, Honorable Member, it's very important. This is a very important report. I think you can read the report from page 3.
Thank you so much. Obliged, Mr. Speaker. Let me start from page 3. So I start with the preface, Mr. Speaker, 1.0. Understanding Order 205, subsection 5A, to investigate, inquire into, and report on all matters relating to mandate, management, activities, administration, operations, and estimates of the assigned departments. 1.1, the mandate of the committee. Understanding Order number 205, it gives the mandate of the Governance, Labor, and Social Welfare Committee as stipulated under Kericho County Assembly Standing Order 205. The mandate of the committee concerns all matters relating to labor, trade union relations, manpower or human resource planning, gender, culture and social welfare, county heritage, petting, lotteries, sports and county public service, and ensuring and coordinating the participation of communities and locations in governance at the local level, and assisting communities and locations to develop the administrative capacity for effective exercise of the functions and powers and participation in governance at the local level. 1.2, Mr. Chairman, oversight. In line with the assigned subject matter and in executing of its mandate, the committee oversees all matters pertaining labor. 1.3, the committee membership. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee membership is as follows. Francis Terer is the chairman of the committee. Honorable Gabriel Chemweno, the vice chair. Honorable Patrice Chepkemoi, a member. Honorable
Gabriel or Gabriela?
Gabriela, your pardon, Mr. Speaker, Gabriela Chemweno is the vice chair. Honorable Beatrice Chepkemoi is a member. Honorable Noela Omolo, member. Honorable Paul P., member. Honorable Simon Koske, member. Honorable Mercy Kikonyo, member. Honorable Winnie Chepkoech, member. And lastly, Honorable Winnie Irene Langat, member. The committee meetings 1.4. The committee endeavors to address issues raised by the BBC documentary on sex for work as per Standing Order 205, based on the evidence on record, which will form testimonies from the witnesses and stakeholders. The committee of the BBC documentary seek to determine the concern raised as follows. One is to establish whether there is concrete information on the allegations of sexual harassment of female workers in various tea estates in our county. Number two, Mr. Speaker, sir, is to scrutinize policy and guidelines of employees' welfare at multinational estates in Kericho. Number three, Mr. Speaker, sir, is to make recommendations to inform the legal framework and policy on concerns and plight of sexual harassment victims. 2.0, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the legal framework. The committee was guided by the following legislations and regulations. One, the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Article 27, which says it guarantees the right and freedom of persons of Kenya, including the right to fair labor practices, the right to freedom and of security of persons, the right to human dignity and freedom of discrimination, Mr. Speaker, sir. Number two, the County Government Act 2012. Number three, the County Government Amendment Act 2020. And number four, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the Sexual Offense number 3 of 2006. Under these acts, under Sexual Offense Act 23(1), it says a person may be found guilty of sexual harassment if any person, who being in authority or holding a public office or, persistently makes any sexual advances or request which he or she knows or has reasonable grounds to know are unwelcome, is guilty of the offense of sexual harassment. Number 5, Mr. Speaker, sir, is Employment Act. Section 6 of the Employment Act defines sexual harassment as where an employer or representative of the employer or a co-worker asks and indirectly employees for a sexual favor, such as sexual intercourse, a sexual contact, or any other form of sexual activity in which, with a promise of preferential treatment in employment or threat to detrimental treatment in employment. Number 6, Mr. Speaker, sir, in addition to the Employment Act, requires that employer with 20 or more employees must, after consulting with employees or their representatives in any issue, a policy statement on sexual harassment. The content of the policy must ensure that the policy is implemented. Employers should therefore train their employees on the parameters of the policy. Number 7, Mr. Speaker, sir, is standing orders. The standing orders gives powers to the committee to investigate and oversight matters pertaining. Number 8, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the International Labour Organization's Convention number 111, Discrimination in brackets Employment and Occupation Convention of 1958. 3.2, Mr. Speaker, an exposed documentary by the British company titled Sex for walked the true cost of our tea, the multinational tea estates in Kericho. On 20th February 2023, in which two companies, namely James Finlay Kenya and Ekaterra, formerly known as Unilever, were adversely mentioned in a documentary on sexual and sex info exchange for work at the tea estates. In order to address the concern raised on the documentary pursuant to Standing Order 205, the Governance, Labor and Social Welfare Committee of the County Assembly held meetings in various dates, scrutinizing and deliberating on the contents of the documentary in the County Assembly precincts on 27th and 28th of February 2023. Honorable Speaker, the committee resolved to inquire into the documentary through fact-finding visits to James Finlay Kenya and Ekaterra tea companies to sort information from managers, employees, and victims where possible. The two companies, Mr. Speaker, sir, informed the committee that to date, there are no complaints regarding the case of John Chepochok, John Asava, and Jeremiah Koskei. The companies further informed the committee that they learned about the allegations through a notification from the PPC on 25th January 2023 of a damning documentary. Mr. Speaker, sir, three weeks later, PPC aired the exposure of the sex for work at James Finlay Company Limited and Ekaterra. Number 4, Mr. Speaker, visits to Ekaterra and James Finlay Company Limited, Kericho. First is Ekaterra Tea Company. The Committee on Governance, Labor and Social Welfare made a fact-finding mission on Ekaterra Tea Company, formerly Unilever, on a fact-finding mission pursuant to Standing Order 205 of the County Assembly of Kericho. The committee were welcomed by the senior managers who took members through a raft of measures and policies of the company. Attached hereto as Annexure 1 is a copy of a policy of Ekaterra Tea Estate on sexual and harassment offenses policy. The company say that they have put in place to address the damning allegations of a PPC documentary, as well as attempting to bar the occurrence of such atrocities. Ekaterra Tea has well documented system on how to handle sexual harassment and workplace. In place is a policy of framework on sexual harassment. This policy stipulates how sexual harassment is handled out in the Annexure 1, Mr. Speaker. Policy to manage sexual harassment at Ekaterra. 1, prevention. This is done through policy framework. The company has in place a sexual harassment policy and security measures at various tea farms and villagers, as so as to protect employees from sexual harassment. Mr. Speaker, sir, number 2 is detention. The company has put in place multiple reporting channels through which the employee can report issues of sexual harassment. These include, number 1, line manager or manager that one trusts. Number B, local business integrity office. Number C, any member of the business integrity community. Number D, business integrity officer. Number E, hotline. Number F, welfare office. The security intervention. The company, Mr. Speaker, sir, has 6 police posts and 4 local administrative chiefs. These ensure that the employees are well protected from sexual harassment. Further, these police officers assist in investigating when a case of sexual harassment has been launched. Response, Mr. Speaker, sir, number 3. Once a case has been launched, the company conducts investigations and hearings. Once the hearing is concluded and the accused is found guilty, the company issues sanctions or forward the case to the police for legal actions. Mr. Speaker, sir, the company also offers psychological social counseling to the victims. The Ekatera management took time to elaborate their corporate social responsibility activities and the willingness to partner with stakeholders in addressing the plight of the workers at the tea industry. The committee on their part promised to conduct oversight, often on various issues affecting the residents of Kericho, and endeavor to generate solutions with the key stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, sir, 4.2, James Finlay Company Limited, Kericho. The committee made a fact-finding mission on 25th April 2023. 2023 at 10 a.m. The team from the County Assembly, Mr. Speaker, sir, comprised of the committee members, the Secretariat, the area MCA, who is Honorable Matthew, and the nominated member of County Assembly, Honorable Fancy, who is also the Deputy Leader of Majority, the Chairman of the Governance and Labor and Social Welfare Committee called the meeting in order and started with a word of prayer, invited the area MCA, member of the County Assembly, Honorable Matthew Korir, and nominated member of County Assembly, Honorable Fancy Korir, to give their opening welcoming remarks, after which the chair enumerated the main reasons of the visit by the committee as a fact-finding mission with reference to the documentary aired by BBC on sexual exploitation for work at the tea estates in Kericho. That is James Finlay's Tea Company Limited and Ekatera Company Limited, formerly Unilever. Mr. Speaker, sir, the James Finlay's Kenya Limited team was led by the Managing Director, the Corporate Affairs Director, the Human Resource Director, among other senior managers. 4.21, background information of James Finlay Company Limited, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, James Finlay Kenya Limited is located in 2 wards administratively. That is Chepchabas ward of Konoin, Sub-County, Bomet County, and Chaik ward of Belgut, Sub-County, Kericho County. James Finlay is a community comprising of the following: 10 estates, 5 tea processing factories, 7 departments, 5,082 employees, of which 800 to 1,000 employees are on contractual terms. It is estimated that James Finlay supports 15,000 dependents from 6,000 households, who largely resides within the James Finlay Kenya Limited. The company prides of 31 ECD centers, 12 primary schools, 2 secondary schools, 13 dispensaries, and 5,000 kitchen gardens, all supporting the James Finlay community in education and food security, as well as self-sufficiency. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. John Chepochok, John Chebochok was a contractor for many years at James Finlay, Kenya. He worked previously at James Finlay as a senior manager until 2017, when he resigned to join politics as a candidate for Kipkelion parliamentary seat, but lost. Chebochok is a sole director of a company by the name Sislo. Sislo Company Limited, a company tasked with managing tea plucking machines. On the part of John Asava, Mr. Speaker, John Asava was an employee of a contractor transacting as Lekiso Company Limited. He worked as a supervisor for Lekiso Company Limited. Mr. Speaker, sir, Jeremiah Kuskei was an assistant manager in Chepaon Estates and transferred to Chamchi on the same capacity, and he resigned. Contractors. The contractor concept, Mr. Speaker, sir, in James Finlay, Kenya, was established in 2010. The sourcing of contractors is done through a pre-qualification process, largely based on experience and performance. The successful bidders are awarded the tender to work in the specified sector of the company after being taken through company policies, rules, and regulations. The contractors then sign to abide by the rules and policies of the James Finlay, Kenya. The contract undertaken by John Chebochok, Mr. Speaker, was a unique one, since it entailed green leaf harvesting, which had never been done before through contracting. 4.22, data on welfare concerns for James Finlay, Kenya. Welfare data is kept for the purposes of resolving or addressing welfare concerns. Between the year 2018 and 2022, the information we received is that there are 1,527 welfare concerns, of which 8 cases are currently both in Kericho and Sotik law courts, of which 4 are murder cases currently active in court. Mr. Speaker, sir, the welfare issues and concerns are categorized and assigned to a particular team for investigations and resolved depending on the welfare issues raised or recorded. Mr. Speaker, sir, some concerns are safety related, while others are criminal in nature. The victims are given psychological support, medical support where appropriately, and legal support. 4.23, Mr. Speaker, sir. Measures the company has put in place by James Finlay, Kenya, to support employee welfare. Elaborate and reporting channels. James Finlay, Kenya, encourages whistleblowing, whereby a line for the purpose is manned by the welfare manager. Staff are sensitized to use the toll-free lines available on basis of See, Hear, Speak Up, that is based in the UK, United Kingdom. Mr. Speaker, sir, the company through the Office of the Assistant Contractor or Manager helps to address and resolve any issues of the contractors. This presents an opportunity on the contractors to share their concerns. The use of committee system to resolve welfare concerns. We have a number of committees, Mr. Speaker, sir. One is the Health and Safety Committee, which normally deals with the health and the safety of the employees of this company, the Gender and Welfare Committee, which is concerned with the gender issues, the village managers who normally safeguard the rights of employees, and also we have the shop stewards who handles the issues of staff terms and conditions of service, including negotiating on behalf of the employees with collective bargaining agreements, training and workshops for staff, managers and contractors. Mr. Speaker, sir, the social workers stroke welfare assistants, medical officers, including the clinical officers, the counselors, are well trained to handle any welfare concerns. By virtue of their qualifications and professions, cases of sexual harassment and gender-based violence is addressed adequately. During such trainings, all the staff are encouraged to speak out as a way of raising any concern without any victimization. The following, Mr. Speaker, is the communication of channels. One is level 1 meetings. Number 2 is the bulk SMS messaging. Number 3 is the notice boards. Number 5 is the employee baraza. Number 5 is the employee talks. Weekly meetings, monthly meetings which are done by the board, and quarterly meetings which are done by the James Finlay Group. Also, surveys are conducted within a period of 18 months, periodically, to improve on the employee welfare, where employee voice actions plan is generated. Mr. Speaker, sir, the company has policies in place. And the following policies, Mr. Speaker, sir, are in place. One is the harassment and sexual offenses policy. Number 2 is the protection policy. And number 3 is the gender equality and diversity policy. And these policies, Mr. Speaker, the one for harassment and sexual offenses policy is Annex 2 attached to this report. The company has endeavored to adhere to the policy framework and comply with the law as it is required of any private limited company and a multinational tea processing company. A report of 2013 by a company known as SOMOC, a Dutch-based human rights organization, generated a report on the tea industry, focusing on Unilever, prompted James Finlay Kenya to focus on employee welfare. Mr. Speaker, sir, the James Finlay Kenya took steps and partnered with other organizations to address welfare issues affecting the community, such as the effects of HIV and AIDS, gender-based violence, sexual harassment, among other atrocities. Corporate social responsibility. Mr. Speaker, sir, James Finlay Kenya, from the information we got, Mr. Speaker, during our visit, has helped construct a safe space for children at the Richo police station at the cost of Kenya shillings for 4.5 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, James Finlay Kenya is a strong partner, not a string. There's a correction there, Mr. Speaker. Is a strong partner in building systems aimed at generating solutions to its community. The company, Mr. Speaker, partnered with women working worldwide during the period 2017-2018 that helped put in place structures and trainings aimed at eliminating gender-based violence and gender mainstreaming in the industry. The company has also offered entrepreneurship support for the affected as the alternative source of livelihood. Mr. Speaker, sir, 4.24 response by the James Finlay Kenya to the BBC exposed. In an attempt, Mr. Speaker, sir, to respond to the BBC exposed, the company has done the following. 1. The James Finlay Company Limited has reported the allegations against John Sava and John Chebochok to the Kenya Police and committed to continue working closely with the police, sharing additional information that results from the investigation. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, the James Finlay Company has observed 296 out of 300 employees of the Sislo Company Limited, a company whose sole director is John Chebochok, as a remedy to protecting the livelihoods of those households of workers employed by John Chebochok. As a result of the exposure, equally, the company has also offered employment to workers of Karolekiso Company Limited, a company who had employed John Asava as a supervisor, Mr. Speaker. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, sir, the company has also reviewed the number of contractors and have served back more core functions such as plucking and weeding, which had previously been outsourced. Mr. Speaker, sir, the company also has resolved to scale down the work assigned to contractors so that the company is in control of its employees, as was the case before. Mr. Speaker, sir, number 4, the James Finlay Kenya is assisting the DCI with information that will help resolve the case of John Chebochok and his accomplices. Previously, Mr. Speaker, sir, the company has been facilitating victims whenever cases are referred for criminal redress in the criminal justice system. Number 5, Mr. Speaker, sir, the James Finlay Kenya has engaged the Committee of Parliament, the County Assembly of Kericho, among other interested parties and agencies by providing information on the policies, rules, and procedure to safeguard employee welfare, such as sexual harassment policies, gender-based violence policies. Number 6, Mr. Speaker, sir, the James Finlay Kenya has additionally engaged the Department of Labor, T-Board of Kenya on the concerns raised by the BBC exposed. Number 7, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the James Finlay Kenya is committed to dialogue always with its stakeholders, such as union, and is open to ideas and collaborations aimed at addressing welfare concerns as and when they happen, and have continued to improve its infrastructure, such as improving lighting for the streets, among other endeavors aimed at protecting workers. Number 8, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that it is important to know that James Finlay Kenya is 25% compliant in terms of gender diversity. 27, Mr. Speaker, apology. And it is important to know that also that James Finlay Kenya is 27 compliant in terms of 27% compliant in terms of gender diversity, and the target, Mr. Speaker, is 30% of its employees being women, or vice versa. It has participated in women leadership programs, women leadership programs through supporting women and through supporting women attend courses at Olesos Technical Training Institute that are technical in nature, such as plumbing, which is not popular with women, Mr. Speaker. Among the key initiatives of the company is the graduate apprenticeship program. And the last one, Mr. Speaker, is that James Finlay Kenya was saddened by the expose as it came to a surprise, despite the notification of in the month of January from the BBC. The magnitude of the issues raised were weighty to the company, as was to everyone who followed the documentary. Mr. Speaker, sir, the company acknowledges that there are gaps in the implementations of the recommendations of various task forces. Number 5, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the committee observations. Number 1, Mr. Speaker, sir, on the committee observation is that the current case of John Chebochok and John Asava is under investigation by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, in Kericho Police Station. The perpetrators of the alleged PPC exposed involved a contractor and an employee stroke dependent of a contractor. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, is that the guidance and counseling has been done among the employees of James Finlay Kenya since the expose for psychological support, and children, Mr. Speaker, sir, have not been left out. There is a correction. Have not been left out of the counseling. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, sir, the employees are traumatized as a result of the BBC exposed, and the staff of the multinationals, Mr. Speaker, sir, are now feeling discriminated. Number 4, the employees and the beneficiaries are not reporting or fear to report. Number 5, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the company continues to manage and oversight all reported cases through follow-up, and closure is done where possible. Mr. Speaker, sir, complex issues are escalated to senior management, and some are referred to the relevant agencies such as the DCI, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and the courts for investigations and determinations. Mr. Speaker, sir, all employees of James Finlay Kenya have a right to appeal to the highest office of the managing director should they feel infringed. Mr. Speaker, sir, 6.0 are the recommendations, Mr. Speaker. The Committee on Governance, Labor and Social Welfare recommends as follows. 1 is that the County Director of Criminal Investigation should fast-track the investigations of the PPC documentary exposed on the multinationals in order to bring justice to the victims of the alleged sexual harassment. And those found culpable, Mr. Speaker, sir, should be caused to face the full force of the law. Number 2, that the alternative reporting mechanisms be put in place for victims of the sexual harassment in the tier states. Such reporting in the tier states and such reporting the incidents to the police for investigation. There's an error there. And such reporting the incidents to the police for investigation, Mr. Speaker, that is an error. And criminal.
So what is the correction, Mr. Chairman?
that the alternative reporting mechanisms be put in place for victims of the sexual harassment in the T estates. And there shall also be other channels so that the affected to report the incidents to the police for investigation and criminal prosecution of suspects through reliable officers, Mr. Speaker. Number 3, that the T estates boards examine if bureaucracy in various levels of management in their organizational has hampered the flow of information from the lower cadres staff to the top level management and vice versa. Reworking the structure may improve reporting of incidences. Number 4, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the T estates should incorporate more women, especially at the supervisory role, in order to ensure gender inclusivity and further reduce occurrences of male workers harassing their female subordinates. Mr. Speaker, sir, number 5, that the multinationals improve their visibility by scaling up their corporate social responsibility activities, and where they participate, share information with the residents of the county. Number 6, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the multinational T estates management continues supporting victims whenever a crime has been committed, including providing evidence and supporting officers conducting investigation through its security mechanisms. Number 7, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the Labor Office, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, and the Gender Office, Ministry of Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action, Kericho County, and the Committee of Governance, Labor and Social Welfare should increase the frequency of visits to the T estates in Kericho County and provide mechanisms through awareness creation on that such incidents can be reported to the government officers for action. Mr. Speaker, sir, acknowledgement. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee is grateful to the Office of the Speaker and the clerk for the logistics and technical support accorded to it during the inquiry. I wish to express my appreciation to the honorable members of the committee and the guidance during the fact-finding and investigation by the committee on this sensitive matter of alleged sexual harassment contained in the BBC documentary on the multinational T estates of Kericho. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee would also like to express their gratitude to the managing directors, the directors, the senior managers and the staff of James Finlay Kenya and Akatera T for their support and providing committee with the valuable information for oversight and policy intervention. The committee would not have realized its objective without the commitment of its members and the secretariat. The committee, Mr. Speaker, sir, expressed its confidence on its members and wish to thank them for their support. Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order number 205, allow me to present this report to the committee assembly for consideration and approval. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Attached, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the
committee or county assembly?
County assembly. County assembly, Mr. Speaker, sir. So attached, Mr. Speaker, sir, is Annexure 1. Is a policy, sexual harassment policy for Ekatera. And Annexure 2, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the harassment and sexual offense policy for Finlays. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to end there and invite Honorable Irene Langat to second. Thank you so much.
So, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this chance. I'd like to thank the Committee on Governance, Labor and Social Welfare for this elaborate report. I also wish to thank the Chair for taking time to read out this extensive report. So this report, we wish to extend our apologies. It has taken time, bearing in mind that the Senate and the National Assembly has tabled their report, and we are coming third. So we extend our apologies. And I wish to also say that this report, we took our time to do the research because it was affecting not only our county, but also the entire country. So we took time, and we saw that after sitting with the multinationals, the two, they have policies in place. They have very nice policies in place, and it was hard to trace the victims because they never reported. So whatever we've tabled here, it is the two findings that we got from the two multinationals. So, and following the recommendations that we gave, I think it is going to go a long way in assisting an occurrence of the similar offenses in future. So I therefore second this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now put the question. I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of Governance, Labor and Social Welfare Committee on the inquiry regarding the alleged harassment of female workers in Findlays and Ekatera Tea Estates. I now open the House for debate. Honorable Matthew Corey.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity also to contribute and also to congratulate the Committee on Labor and Social Welfare for giving us this wonderful report this morning. We have been waiting for this report so that we can even know what was the issue concerning this PPC documentary. One, Mr. Speaker, I wanted only just to add on something for the committee to know that we had 4 victims or 4 people who were mentioned with the PPC. 1, John Chepochok. 2, John Asaba.
Honorable Matthew Ron, are you making an amendment or you are contributing?
Mr. Speaker, I'm seeing one person missing on the report, and it will not be so good when Samuel Yebe is not mentioned in the report.
Honorable member, please note that this is a report that has been tabled by a committee, a competent committee, unless you want to make an amendment. But if it is anything that is outside the report, then you either make an amendment.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, I seek your guidance because 1, Samuel Yebe was mentioned advancedly in this report and is one of the victims that was suspended and backing from Ekaterra, where I represent. I wanted the name to appear in the report. So I seek your guidance, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Matthew Coril. So you either make an amendment and we will put the amendment before the Honorable House for adoption or rejection. What's your point of order, Honorable Esron Kimweno?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise on a point of order and get the indulgence from your chair, Speaker, because this is a report from a committee. It was a well-researched report which you gave them time to go research and do a proper report which they have tabled. A report which has been researched cannot be amended. So I think I want your guidance over the same, but this is a report which was such and cannot be amended, and particularly from a member who was not a member of the said committee. Thank you.
Honorable Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to also could be support what Honorable Esron Ngetich has actually said, that this is a report which was well searched. Whatever we've been hearing, Honorable Speaker, was sort of propagandas. But now these are facts-finding mission, and we believe whoever mentioned here is really what the committee did, and this is the report in which we want to endorse. Whoever mentioned, like what Mr. Honorable Matthew has said, could be was a propaganda bypassing. But when we come to the report, I believe that this report is candidly made, and it is not prone to any amendment, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Matthew.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, I had no intention to amend the report, but it was my observation that one Samuel Yebe was supposed to be in the list. But if the committee did their best to get this report, I have no problem, Mr. Speaker. Remember, this is the ward I represent, and these are the victims here, and those who participated are my voters. And I can confirm to you, Mr. Speaker, that the two companies have taken an initiative of providing better reports going forward and better policies that can protect our sisters, our mothers, and our daughters, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the chairman. During our visit to James Finlay, which is currently Mr. Brown's, we understand that many things are happening behind the curtains, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the chairman for all the efforts of the committee, even to this county assembly, the clerk and the speaker, for supporting this committee. It was not an easy task since, according to my understanding, Mr. Speaker, you are investigating something that is already in the public domain. So, Mr. Speaker, the challenges actually that these workers are going through are many. And at some point, Mr. Speaker, I wish that the Committee on Labor, Social Welfare, next time when you are doing a report or such, you can also visit these trade unions like Kapao, because they have the information according to sometimes these companies, they can give us their side of the story, and when the other people give us their side of their story, Mr. Speaker, some point you will get to know who is telling you what. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this report, And I know going forward, we will be able to be giving watertight reports like this so that we can help this county assembly and our community also get the right of their representation here in this county assembly. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the committee and I want to thank your office, Mr. Speaker, for facilitating this committee to give us this good report. Going forward, I'll be telling my people in the ground now that we have tabled the report in the county assembly. No one will touch you in the exchange of the work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kiprotich Rogon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support the report tabled by the committee. Mr. Speaker, this report came out of an expose done by the BBC. And Mr. Speaker, before even I make a few contribution statements, Mr. Speaker, I must point out what the Honorable Matthew Korir raised. We all watched the documentary, and one of the people who advancedly mentioned was Ayebe. It's unfortunate that it is not captured by the report, and as explained by the members who've spoken before, I would wish the committee in future should exhaustively address a number of issues raised. However, Mr. Speaker, I support initiative by the committee to pay a visit to these multinationals. Mr. Speaker, the expose raised a number of concerns. And I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, that the same institutions, the two multinationals, took a swipe or took the fastest steps to try and address the issue. From the report, Mr. Speaker, the individuals concerned still investigated, and I want to believe, Mr. Speaker, justice will finally be served to the victims, to the perpetrators of this heinous act, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this documentary became a nationwide condemnation to those who took part in this thing, Mr. Speaker. You can even remember the National Parliament committee members visited the two institutions, Mr. Speaker. This House has every reason to raise a number of things that the victims raised, Mr. Speaker. The only thing that I wish is, even as the report is tabled, I wish, Mr. Speaker, in due course, the House will be informed of what will have happened to the perpetrators. And even, Mr. Speaker, I came when the seconder of the motion was on the chair, Mr. Speaker, or on the floor of the House. It is unfortunate that the same victims have not recorded statement from the information we are getting. How I wish they came, because they are protected, so that they record the statements required for these perpetrators to be arrested and taken before the courts for justice to be served to the victims of the sexual harassment that has continued to affect a number of these people seeking employment in the multinational sector. To this far, Mr. Speaker, I support the report, and I only wish that in future we get to know what will have happened to these perpetrators of these acts in our multinationals. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Metcalf.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for granting me this opportunity. First, let me thank the Committee of Governance, Labor, and Social Work for this wonderful work, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I raise to stand to support this report. If you go to the recommendation, Mr. Speaker, the committee said that the state should incorporate more women, especially in the supervisory role, in order to increase gender inclusivity and further reduce occurrence of male working harassment, the female subordinate. Mr. Speaker, also the committee stated that the multinational justice management continues supporting victims whenever crime has been committed, including provide evidence and supporting officers coordinating investigation authorities security mechanism. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this report, and I also congratulate the Committee of Governance for this wonderful job. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Winnie Langat.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, sir. Though I had not raised my hands, but I'm a member of the committee. I'm a member of the said committee. We went to Ekatera and James Finlay. That is our report. We own it. Thank you very much.
So do you support the report? Or do you
Yes,
own
I
it?
totally support the report. I'm a
Thank you.
member of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Winnie. Honorable Kimngano Kirui.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa nafasi yenye umenipea na support hii report. Asante.
Thank you, Honorable Kimngano Kirui. Honorable Mercy Kikonyo.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu ya nafasi hii ambayo umenipea ili niweze kuchangia kuhusu kamati ya Governor Labors ambayo ilienda kuchunguza mambo ambayo ilikuwa imefanyika katika shamba ya Ekatera. Mimi ni mmoja wapo katika hiyo kamati. Nataka niseme ya kwamba tulipokuwa tumeenda mahali pale kulikuwa na mambo mingi ambayo ilifanyika na tuliweza kuchunguza, na kamati imekuja na ripoti ambayo inastahili. Kwa hivyo nimesimama hapa kusupport ama kuunga mkono hii komiti kwa sababu ya kazi njema ambao waliyefanya wakiongozwa na mwenyekiti wa hiyo komiti. Kwanza kabisa nataka niseme ya kwamba maana hii kwenda kuchunguza hii maneno, ukiangalia katika hiyo ripoti ambayo tumepewa mchana wa leo, unaona ya kwamba ni heri wamama wangekuwa wengi katika kuajiriwa katika hiyo shamba. Kwa sababu nilikuwa ninaona ya kwamba kama tungekuwa na mama mmoja ambaye maybe alikuwa manager, yale ambao wamama wenzangu walipitia hawangepitia, kwa sababu wakipata mama mwenzao ambao amesimama mahali pale angekuwa na wasimamia, na hawa angeingia katika hiyo hali ya kunyanyaswa, kwa sababu angesimama kama mama na angeweza kuwatetea. Mambo mingi ambayo imetendeka mahali pale, mara mingi nilipokuwa ninajiuliza ni kwa nini mama alikuwa anakaa chini anaambiwa fanya hivi fanya hivi. Si kwa sababu yake, ni kwa sababu ya watoto ambao alikuwa amebeba, kwa sababu maybe anaona maybe nisipoajiriwa hii kazi watoto wangu watarara njaa. Na kama vile tunavyojua ni kwamba mama akisikia mtoto atarara njaa, heri aende atafuta mahali nyingine ama afanye mambo ambayo istahili.
Point of order, Honorable Gilbert Ngetich. When the chair is on the floor, Mheshimiwa Mercy, you take your seat. Mheshimiwa Ngetich.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. You also understand, Mr. Speaker, that when we are in this assembly, we use only one language. So when I heard Honorable Kikonyo saying maybe in between Kiswahili sentences, Mr. Speaker, I didn't find it in order, but because of the maiden speech she was making, I could accept. Continue, Honorable.
Honorable Ngetich, you have raised it well. Honorable Mercy Kikonyo, please read the standing order as well. When you're on the floor and you're speaking, it's either you speak in Kiswahili or English. When you choose one, you speak that one until the end. Please be guided. Thank you.
Naomba msamaha kwa hayo, na nilikuwa nimesimama ili niunge hii ripoti. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Mercy Kikonyo. Mheshimiwa Beatrice Chepkemoi.
Asante sana Bwana Spika. Mimi ni mmoja wao wa kamati na ninaiunga mkono.
Thank you very much. Honorable Opile Noela.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'm a member of the Committee for the Governance. I stand here to support the motion and also maybe to add some few points from the observation, being that we have the investors like Jane Finlay's, or it will also be very in order if we can also have the national parliament in conjunction with the county assembly also to investigate and maybe also to come up with solutions that will not last for now but for future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mheshimiwa Evelyn Chebogen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to stand over here. I've never been here, but I thank you so much. I also want to support the report on the labor and governance, and also I urge the committee that after giving the report, I would have known the way forward on how the committee and how the report was handled. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now invite the Honorable Chair, Governance, Labor and Social Welfare, Honorable Francis Terrer, to reply.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for another opportunity to reply to the report. Conversations by honorable members, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to thank the honorable members for their contributions, for their suggestions, for their input on the report. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to refer the House that they look at the policies in place of the two companies, especially the Katera one. When you look at Annex 1, Mr. Speaker, sir, on the Annex 1 on sexual harassment policy by the Katera, It talks about the scope of the policy, the forms of sexual harassment. I want to inform the honorable members to look at the forms of sexual harassment and to understand the definition of sexual offense, Mr. Speaker. So I want to refer to honorable members that you look at the forms of the harassment policy, the forms of sexual harassment. Number one, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have many forms of sexual harassment, including the number one, we have physical one, we have verbal one, and non-verbal one. So I want to refer the honorable members, you look at the next chart to understand the sexual harassment so that you cannot run into trouble, Mr. Speaker. So look at the policy in place, the forms of harassment, and so that honorable members, we don't fall into this sexual harassment. So with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you so much for that opportunity, and allow me to thank the committee members of the governance and the secretariat for the work done. And I want to apologize, Mr. Speaker, sir, for taking too long to report. It was because of the unavoidable circumstances. And then we promise that in future we will work tirelessly and produce our report in time. Thank you so much.
Now, I now rise to put the question as per the standing orders of the County Assembly of Kericho that this House adopts the reports of the Governance, Labor, Social Welfare Committee on the inquiry regarding the alleged harassment of female workers in James Finlay's and the Katera Tea Estates. Will as many of the similar opinion say aye? Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Now this House stands adjourned until Tuesday, 30th May 2023 at 2:30 p.m.